Hi, I'm Bob Batcher, Executive Director of Prime Plus Senior Centers, and this is Prime Time with Bob. I've got a topic today that we're going to try to have some fun with, kind of be light about it, but it's one that I think gnaws on us a lot, people my age. And we have breaking news, so stay through the conversation because we got awesome news. Dr. Okhravi, how you doing?
I'm doing very fine. Thank you very much, Bob, for having me on.
Now, that was a layman's question. I expected some kind of medical response because you took your lab coat off just before we got started. You've been seeing patients, right? So are you still in the medical mode?
Well, sort of, kind of. So if you want to just know, in medical terms, well, I'm doing fine. My blood pressure, I just checked it. It was actually very fine, 120/80, while heart rate was also 65. So I'm doing okay.
Wow. And it's funny you say that because I'm doing the Noom diet with my wife, and we now have all these apps that are telling me how I'm doing. And I just found out from my CPAP machine this morning that I had an excellent night's sleep. But when I woke up, I thought it was a really crummy night's sleep, which is true, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
We talked the other week because you were anxiously waiting for a big news flash. Again, I don't want to talk about it yet, but it's about Alzheimer's and dementia memory. So when you said you were seeing patients this morning, what were you seeing?
Yeah, these are patients who either themselves or maybe family members or maybe their primary care physicians or providers, they have noticed some change in their day-to-day memory, and they are being referred to us. And, we see patients with different types of memory loss, different severity. Some people just come here because they have themselves noticed some changes. Mm-hmm. And some people come here just because they have a family member, for example, mom or dad, who has Alzheimer's, and they're concerned whether they're going to develop or not. So they come here to be checked.
Okay. So that way, that's where you put the test on them and don't just give them an opinion, right?
Correct.
So besides me being concerned that I'm always having to look for my wife's phone, what kinds of things should a spouse or an individual kind of be looking for or being concerned about?
Yeah. The memory issues, it's all about change because we all forget things, right? Mm-hmm. I can tell you this morning when I actually came out of my, my home, I think I actually left my key in my home. And so, I just came back, from the garage. So that happens very often. So I don't even need to go to yesterday. I can tell you some instances from today. So that's not important if there is no change. However, if forgetfulness, for example, misplacing items, my key, my remote control, my phone, if that happens more often than before, then that becomes significant. So what is important to us is really the change that you're looking for.
Gotcha. So you operate out of EVMS, I think the best medical school in the entire world. I just got it, besides the one you graduated from. But tremendous outreach in the community and really dealing with the community. And so the Memory Center has been very engaged in educating and improving quality of life. Thank you for all the work that you've done. I guess, though, that if I'm starting to be concerned, who do I talk to about? Because I'm not going to come to you immediately, right?
Sure. So to come and see us here in our memory clinic, of course, there are different ways, but I think the best would be if you talk to your primary care physician and if they can make a referral. However, here in our memory clinic, we do see patients who are concerned and they directly contact us and would like to be seen by us. So we definitely do that as well. But I think the best way would be just going through the primary care physician.
Because primary care does have enough knowledge and experience to be able to say, yeah, you might be heading down that path. Okay, so I come in. What are you going to do to me?
Well, our patients, when they actually come, first of all, we ask them to bring another family member or someone who knows them very well. That's very helpful because, as you can imagine, our spouses or parents, they know us very well, and they can also sense the changes. When patients come to us, we do have a series of memory tests, and these are pen and paper. And these are standardized tests that we administer. So it could be up to like 90 minutes of testing. And this is very revealing, because what happens is, when you come here and complain of memory loss, that's subjective. Not that we don't really believe in you. We do believe in you, but what is important for us to objectively find that as well, because people may have just only subjective memory complaint, but when they come to us and we do the memory test, everything is blue ribbon normal. So we do the memory test, and then we ask some questions about memory from family members and then patients. We do the exam, physical examination. We get the result of memory test. We put everything together. If there are issues, then the next step is most probably a type of imaging studies. And most of the time that's MRI. And the MRI that we do is a specific type that is dedicated to memory. So we do quantitative measurements of different parts of brain, which is very, very helpful. So that's really the first step. And then when patients have the MRI done, they come back, we look at the MRI, review that with patients. If we can come up with our diagnosis for the cause for the memory loss, then we put it at rest in terms of our workup. However, if you still don't know what's going on, then we may actually go with other types of imaging studies like PET scans and so on and so forth.
Now, you're kind of teasing your breaking news, because when we first talked last week, I remember that in order to get a diagnosis, you pretty much had, in the old days, you had to die. Where now technology has given you tools that you can really see a lot more and a lot earlier. Do you want to give the breaking news?
Sure, absolutely. Well, as you said, Bob, and this is very, very important. I can't really tell you how much it has really impacted the field of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. There is now an imaging study which is called amyloid imaging. As you know, the culprit of Alzheimer's, the main one is amyloid plaques. These are proteins that they clump together and becomes plaque. And before 2003, we had to wait till patients pass away and then take a look at the brain to come up with a diagnosis and see those plaques in the brain. However, in 2003, a couple of scientists, they developed this imaging study, which is a PET scan, and we can see amyloid plaques in living human beings. So that has revolutionized the diagnostic field. So in 2012, that actually got FDA approved, and that's what we do right now. So now we can diagnose Alzheimer's years before people develop symptoms. In fact, this technique, the amyloid imaging, has shown us that people who are destined to develop Alzheimer's, they start building up those plaques in the brain about 20 years before they become symptomatic.
Wow.
So this 20 years is really ample of opportunity for any type of intervention. And we believe that people who have amyloid plaques built up in the brain, and by the way, we call them now preclinical Alzheimer's disease. These are people who have no memory problem whatsoever. When they come to our memory clinic, their test is blue ribbon normal. However, if we do this amyloid imaging, we can see plaque buildups in their brain. So, and we believe that most of these people, if they have enough time, they will progress to the stage of mild cognitive impairment, very mild memory problem, or dementia. So now with this new study, it's about prevention. As you know, prevention is always the best, better than treatment.
Right.
And this is one of the first studies about the prevention of Alzheimer's disease. So it is called AHEAD 345. And the reason that we call it AHEAD, it's just because hopefully we will be ahead of Alzheimer's disease with this study. So this is a big study. It's an academic public-private partnership with funding from NIH and Eastside Company. This is a global trial, about 100 sites in US and outside US. They are part of this study. I think in US, that's about like 60 or 70 of those sites. And we are excited to be one of the sites for this study.
And that's why I said that I think UVMS is one of the best schools in the world.
I may be biased, but I totally agree with you.
I think I said world the first time. I may have said country. Well, this is really cool. So what does this mean to people that live local then?
So it's mainly, this study is about people between the age of 55 and 80. So everyone who is between the age of 55 and 80, they can be part of this study as long as, they don't have memory loss. So
Gotcha.
this is, as I said, this is for people who don't have any memory loss, but probably they have preclinical Alzheimer's disease. So for people between 55 to 65, they need to have a risk factor. For example, a genetic risk factor. Either they have those genetic predisposition or maybe a family member with Alzheimer's disease. For people over age of 65, there is no prerequisite. Everyone can come and everyone can be evaluated. So what it means that when people come to us for this study, we do a bunch of memory tests, make sure that there is really no memory deficit. And then if they are eligible for the study, at the end, we do one of those amyloid imaging studies that we just talked, kind of at the end of the screening. And by the way, those tests are very expensive. So each amyloid imaging costs $10,600 here locally. Wow. And it is not covered by Medicare or any other types of insurance companies at this point. So when people are eligible and we do the amyloid imaging, when it shows amyloid plaques, it means that people have preclinical Alzheimer's disease. And then after that, they are going to be randomized to a medicine. And this is a medicine which is an anti-amyloid antibody. What it means that it's an antibody goes to the brain. And by the way, this is an infusion, goes to the brain, binds to those amyloid plaques, and our brain will clean it up. Based on previous studies, this is a very powerful medicine. It actually makes people who are amyloid positive or they have amyloid plaque in the brain, after 1.5 years, it makes 81% of them amyloid negative. And we believe that because amyloid plaques, or maybe representation of amyloid plaques, are the culprit of Alzheimer's, and they cause, after a while, maybe 15, 20 years, memory loss, with this intervention that we clean up those amyloid plaques, we will be able to prevent Alzheimer's disease.
That is huge, because I mean, the way we are now, it's you start having symptoms and you're on that journey. And then you try to treat some of the symptoms, but this is awesome. Now you're working very closely with the Alzheimer's Association too, right? You personally?
I do, yes. We do work with them. I actually provide some talks. And also we use their caregiver support modules that they have. We have a study related to caregiver support. We use actually their modules. So yes, we work very closely. We refer patients to Alzheimer's Association as well.
So I got to ask you, have you told them yet?
Yes, they do know. They do know, and they're very excited. But I think they know that we are fully approved, because the approval process was very extensive. This is quite exhaustive process. This is, I can tell you, this is, if not the best clinical trial in Alzheimer's disease, one of the best clinical trials in Alzheimer's disease. People who are running as the PIs, the principal investigators for these studies, these are people who have done, clinical trials for Alzheimer's all their lives. So for that reason, this study is very well designed. And I think, as you said, we are very excited having that on, in our site, and be able to offer that to our patients. I can't really tell you how many times family members have come to us before, and they were asking about anything that they can contribute or they can, participate, and we really didn't have anything. Now that's different. Now the answer is yes, we do have something.
That is so cool. And as you know, you're talking with the people who are in the age range that are with Prime Plus. So anything that we can do to help, I know that it's a reoccurring angst among seniors, and unfortunately, Alzheimer's memory loss has some stigma to it. I doubt if any of your patients have come in and said, weren't very happy that they failed your test, right?
You're right.
So the idea that there's some hope through research, and that we're on the cutting edge of it, thanks to EVMS and the work that you guys have done.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I forgot all the jokes I was going to tell you. You want to
Please.
close with one of your favorite ones?
Well, actually, I don't remember any, if that makes sense.
There we go. You got me. But again, those are the kinds of things that we'll be able to deal with. Those are several of the journeys, but now we have ways of dealing with it. So we're going to be putting off at the end of this. We'll put some information out about getting more information. But I wanted to be the first one on Zoom, record it, to find out about this. And the work you're doing and your team is just awesome. Hopefully people have told you that.
Yeah. So, I think we have right now for this study, we have 25 people signed up. And I can't really tell you how excited they are that we have something to offer. Absolutely. And by the way, yes, this is the first time. This is the first time that we are announcing about this study. We haven't even put that in our magazine at EVMS. So you're the first. Your program, Bob, Prime Time with Bob is the first.
Super. Doctor, I am so excited to say that I know you and that and I'm looking forward to some great stuff coming out of the Memory Center and EVMS. Thanks for everything that you've done.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me on.
Okay. Stay safe, stay connected, and we'll see you later. Thanks a lot.